I would rather go to a country where I know that I can pay 50% of my taxes. I know that these people, they are responsible enough to put things in place that will take care of me when I'm old. That's why people live. Because usually what happens is, it's almost like the universe has designed everything to follow a process. There's like a waiting process for everything. You just have to wait.
If you really want to change your current situation, you need exposure. That was not the first time I heard the word exposure, but I understood it differently that day.
Because you can be a walking dead with verbal violence. You can be a walking dead where if you get a compliment, you can almost kiss the person that, because you never get this frost.
Hello, welcome to Selfish,
Hello, thank you.
a journey into wisdom. Thank you for joining me here in the studio today. Studio indeed. Today I'll be talking to my friend, Mr. Solagbade Enitilo. He's a software developer. He's my friend. He's a father, and apart from these things, what else? What else are you?
I think you pretty much. I mean, when you say he's a father, I think that's enough. That is really enough. Yeah.
Okay. But are you sure? I'm not missing anything out.
I mean, I've done quite a number of things.
Yeah, please.
One of the most important things that right now is maybe Doyenify. It's a startup, and I'm privileged to be one of the co-founders. So that is one of my babies, and it's dear to me.
Nice,
So
nice.
maybe I'll like that too.
So what is Unify about? And what do you do there as a co-founder? Did you just co-found it, or actually what do you do?
I mean, Doyenify, we have a number of products. We just released a product yesterday that is going to revolutionize how you apply for jobs. It's called AI CV Jobs. And we have also Young Doyen, where kids can learn the skill of the future. That's how I put it. And of course, we also have an academy where we teach adults also programming related courses. And we have a number of products here and there. And ultimately, we are also a software company. So if you have any product that you would like to build, we can also bring it to us and we can build it for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
Yes.
Good, thank you. So what is your day-to-day like being a co-founder?
I mean, I'm not really that active right now with a lot of things. Our CEO is quite more active than me right now because, of course, again, I'm also working, so it's really, really hard. But the good thing is we have employees that are more active in the business and, doing the core development work. But from time to time, I give technical directions. I work in the capacity of the CTO, even as a co-founder. So I do that from time to time, do code review, give technical direction, also give some product ideas, some new features that should be added and how they should be implemented. So
nice.
That's what I do.
So you do all this with being a father as well?
Man. I mean, the father one is Use as a talk for another day.
Yeah. Hopefully, we should have a talk about fatherhood as well.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. So lately, I've been thinking about this. When things get difficult, oftentimes the first instinct that comes to us as humans is to leave, as opposed to staying and facing whatever difficulty it is. Sometimes leaving is the best decision to make, and some other times, I don't want to say often, maybe we leave too early. So I've been thinking, and I'm more curious, and I'll be putting it to you as a question now, that when is it meaningful, and when is it best to stay as opposed to leaving almost immediately, or even leaving at all? Yeah.
That's a good question, and that's a good. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask, considering that I'm a Nigerian, and right now I'm not in Nigeria.
Okay. It's good.
I left.
I
When I should have stayed.
Hmm.
But I think it's better to. I mean, it's not like black and white. This is not black and white. But ultimately, I've come to realize one thing. First of all, is that we have different choices and we have different ways where like different preference on how we want to live our lives. So, but if the idea is that you want to be successful at anything, right? At some point, you have to forget the idea of living when things get tough and rather staying and pushing through. Because come to think of it, like in my own case, for example, let me use the example of like the typical Japaa experience where you are back home in Nigeria and then you feel like this place is not meant for me. I can't stay here. I can't survive here. I can't be successful here. Let me leave, right? And then the question is the country you want to go to, what if they didn't put the right things in place? What would happen? Would you still live
For that place.
for that place?
Mm.
Or you see, well, like we have, for example, even like the most developed countries right now, they're having wars and stuff like that. So when they experience war, what happens? Do you run back to where you were coming from, or do you leave for somewhere else? So we have this situation whereby people leave, let's say from Nigeria to, in our own case right now, Estonia. And then after 5 years in Estonia, people are leaving to UK again. And then they go to UK, they say, oh, the UK is not all that. Then they go to Canada. And then, oh, then again, Canada is not all that. Then they go to the United States. Oh, United States is
Hoping
not
that
all.
the United States is the Eldorado.
Hoping that the United States is the Eldorado. But is it?
Mm.
I think a lot of people are in the United States right now and they can tell you that it's not the Eldorado.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, there are a lot of people making it in the United States, but at the same time, there are also a lot of people not making it in the United States. So, in that sense, I would say it's better to stay because nobody becomes a giant all of a sudden. You were not born a giant, We're all born like this, and then we start taking steps, and then we become who we are right now. So, there's power in
Mm.
staying and fixing things. Yeah.
Staying on fixing things.
Yes.
When people leave a lot of things. People leave marriages when it's difficult.
Yeah.
People leave jobs when they feel like they're not getting as much as they feel they can get outside. People leave ideas when things are implementing them are kind of difficult and they jump to the next thing. So it might be kind of dicey to draw the line and to define in what state or in what conditions to live because it depends. In marriage, the conditions are definitely like different in jobs, for example, in
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
like just dating relationships.
Yeah.
So I would like you to talk about like the variations,
The variations. I
the
can try.
variation in
I
all
can try.
this. Yes.
Yeah. I was having this similar discussion with a friend, a lady actually, and we were talking. We are both married, like she's married, I'm married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Separate.
Separate. Separate.
Okay.
So we're discussing marriage.
Okay.
Right. I am of the opinion that, especially with marriage, that the only thing that should make you leave your marriage is if there's like domestic violence or issues that can literally kill you. In
Mm.
fact, the only reason to leave anything is if you can see that there's like a real sense of danger to your life. So, for example, let's say let's say with Japa, for example, if there's really no real risk, the grass is green wherever you water it, so to say. But let's take it back to marriage. So, because Japa is like a whole different topic
Yes.
entirely.
I would also like us to talk about it as a subtopic.
As a
But
topic, yeah,
yeah, subtopic first is marriage now.
so yeah, variation, marriage. First of all, that's my own personal opinion. Because religiously, even God at least hates, as far as I know, God hates divorce.
Mm.
So in that sense, but again, when you look at the stats, you see that maybe divorce rate is like 50% divorce, 50% success. So I wouldn't even say, to be honest, like it's tricky. the fact that a marriage is not doesn't end in divorce does not mean that the marriage is also a success. So that's also like another topic. But if I have my way, like I would rather God forbid any bad thing happens to my marriage or anything like that. But I would rather stay and try to fix things. Unless, of course, there is like domestic violence involved, there is like I don't know, poisoning involved,
Like your boundaries are already crossed.
yeah, your boundaries are already crossed. If it's like something that's gonna take my life, then I'm not gonna be there.
And you are not advising anyone to stay there.
And I'm not advising anyone to stay there if it's gonna take your life. But if it's some other issues, you know, I think that's the point. That's the point of love, that's like the vow. Like there's like literally for better or worse. Although a lot of people try to change it now for better or something like that. But the whole idea is this is the person I'm sticking with. Come rain, come come sun. Like nothing is going to stop me from staying with this person. And also jobs. I can speak to this. Maybe not job. Let me speak to it like career wise. I can talk about like a lot. Because I see a lot of people, I told you earlier that we have an academy. I see a lot of people, they just want to learn tech and want to grab it like maybe in 2 months. Maybe they hear that, oh, you can easily make, I don't know, 3,000 euros, 4,000 euros, 5,000
In a month.
euros in a month in tech. And then they're like, oh, let me get a piece of this, this pie. But they're not willing to wait. They're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing. Maybe they are willing to put in the work, but they're not willing to wait. Because can you put in the work for an extensive period of time, 6 months consistently, 1 year even? Can you wait? Can you wait that period out? And I'm really grateful that I was able to wait because usually what happens is it's almost like the universe has designed everything to follow a process. There's like a waiting process for everything. You just have to wait. You just have to wait. Take for example, I think you have a wonderful son.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Right? I know you can afford it to probably buy a Lamborghini for him. You
Ah.
know? you know,
Boss, you know it's wrong.
I can see here that what you bought for him is this a bicycle or a four-legged bicycle? So, and at some point he had like this car toy. Now he has graduated to bicycle. Obviously, this is 4 leg now. Maybe 2 leg. Then maybe at some point, then you can now consider buying those cars that you can still drive around, those small cars that you can drive around. And then maybe scooter. Then maybe when he's 18, you can say, oh, Mercedes Benz.
My father didn't buy me a car.
But you are not your father. Now, so you are going to be better than your father.
Yes, I know,
That's the
but-
prayer of every father.
Yes, but being better than my father. I know my father wants me to be better than him, but I don't think
I know Otedola bought like this pink, was it Lamborghini?
Yeah,
Remember that?
some few years
So,
back.
yeah.
There were 4 of them, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And I'm very sure he didn't buy that when they were 3, 2, 5.
Yeah.
Because the danger of that is people when you jump process, when you can't wait. First of all, it's even dangerous to just hand over like things to people that don't even appreciate it. Like there is the reason why there is like stepwise process for a lot of things, so that you grow into distance. And that's one of the beauty of waiting. Like you must learn to wait and gradually progress in life. Gradually progress in life.
You know, actually, I was going to say that I think we're kind of mixing staying and waiting now. However, I believe that it just came to my mind now that, okay, we're talking about like staying back as opposed to leaving, but you're already talking about waiting, which I think are two different things.
Okay.
But the wisdom that I picked from there is that when you actually stay, you need to wait. So, like when you stay back, then you need to wait while you're actually putting in some form of work. Yeah,
It's sort of quite like difficult to separate at some point.
Yeah, so I love the way you introduced waiting.
Yeah.
Although we're talking about staying.
Staying.
So, like to our listeners out there, it means that if you decide to stay, if that's the best option for you, because when I was after I said I was going to talk about this, then I was thinking, am I or any other person in the right position to say that staying back or leaving is the best option. In my own case, I I didn't stay back. I left. We already said that we might be leaving marriages, jobs, or decide to stay back in marriages, in jobs. Also, we might decide to leave cities or countries. So in this case, I
It
left
depends
Nigeria.
on the reason why you are living.
Yeah.
It depends.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to go ahead with this conversation and kind of dissect reasons why you need to stay back. If staying back is the best option for you or this individual in question, or reason why this individual needs to leave. If leaving to a different place, or leaving this marriage to a different one, or staying out of marriage, or leaving a job for a different one, like reasons why they should make this decision. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think I get your point now.
Mm.
I think I get it. So, um, hmm, reason to stay or to leave.
Yes.
So I think we need to address the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to leave, and why do you think you should stay?
Mm.
So why you want to leave is probably because you feel like you're gonna get some better utility wherever you're going, something better. If it's a job, you think probably gonna get better salary. If it's
Better working conditions.
better working conditions. If it is marriage, probably you think your spouse doesn't value you as much. You think you're gonna get a better man or a better woman outside. And then if it's like a country, you think maybe your own country is not good for you. Maybe a better country is out there. So usually it's that. I want to assume that that's like the reason. But there's also always a question of whatever you have right now, it's almost like you prayed for it at some point.
Mm.
You know, like the job that you have the job that you hate now, there was a time you prayed for that job.
Mm.
The marriage that all of a sudden seems like you're not that satisfied in right now, you prayed for that marriage. Yeah, maybe except maybe country to the past, you didn't pray for. Yeah, you were you were born there. But even that country, a lot of people, like for example, Estonia. I'm one of the advocate of Estonia, so to say. I can talk to about Estonia, about the best things in Estonia. But some people will tell you that, you know what, I think you are not, you have not seen Estonia. Estonia may not be that. But to me, I think Estonia is the best country in the world, right?
I also share that sentiment as well.
Exactly. So, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow I may not leave Estonia, you know. But it depends on the reason why I'm leaving. If I'm leaving Estonia tomorrow, it wouldn't be because I think I can get something better somewhere else,
Mm.
right? It would be for a completely different reason. Why did I say that? Because fundamentally, we have to look inwards. Whatever it is you are looking for is not wherever you are going. It is in you. We're talking about selfish, right? The journey into wisdom. It's a personal responsibility. There are, like we touched upon it a little bit like the last time, that there are poor people in the United States that some people call the Eldorado, right? And there are stinkily rich people in Nigeria that some people think you cannot make it in. Yeah, exactly. So it all comes down to you, like your value. What can you really offer? You see, when I talk about Estonia, before I came to Estonia, I did a lot of research. I saw it literally written in paper that we want people to come and study here, IT, and we would like these people that come to study IT to remain in our country and add to our value to our economy. I say, wow, this is a secret right there, open in the newspaper. So, but you see, a lot of people come to a country, they don't really have anything to offer that country. Yeah. And then they say, oh, this country is not good. This country is not this, and stuff like that. They have told you this is our main advantage. This is where we really want a lot of people to come. This is where we really want, this is our economy, literally. This is like, IT is our economy. If you're IT, oh, all well and good, you are welcome. So if you are not IT, then in that case, and you are seeing some other side of things,
You just want to leave
you just want to leave.
anywhere.
So where you are living to, what is the value that you want to take there, and stuff like that. So it's not like I think it was, I don't know who said it, maybe Abraham Lincoln, on that, do not ask what your country is going to do for you. Ask what you're going to do for your country. Yeah, 100. you know. So I think that's what we should rather focus on, because like the grass is greener on the other side. The grass is obviously not green on the other side, you know. If the grass is green where you water the ground.
But in
But in
hindsight,
hindsight, yes.
when you were leaving Nigeria for
Mm.
Estonia, don't you, right now, don't you think the grass is greener here?
I don't think so. Like I don't think so. I
So
could have to be honest, uh no regrets. No regrets whatsoever. Um but I don't think so,
mm,
you know. First of all, we were still I was discussing with incidentally we were discussing with one of my friends today. We are just so bored at home. We can go out. I can literally make a claim that I have stayed indoor since I've come to this country. I've stayed indoor more than I've been outside.
yeah, I agree with you.
So that wouldn't have happened in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, and another thing that you should know is like there is power in mingling,
Mm-hmm.
meeting people, talking to people.
We're social animals.
Yeah. So being isolated is not that good for your mental health. It's not that good for even your creativity.
Mm,
Yeah. There are times that when you go out, you can absorb a lot of things
yeah.
in the environment, and
You interact with nature.
you interact with nature, and then it helps your creativity. Obviously, it's not like they're telling us not to go out or
Mm.
something like it just so happen, you know, like winter is like I don't know, 4 months maybe more, even more than
More
4
than
months at
4 months, yes.
so I'm grateful that I left, but at the same no regret. But at the same time, I don't consider it like if I had remained in Nigeria, I was going to be fine in Nigeria.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to be like that's pointing to the concept of value. I don't think I can go anywhere in my life, and this is not like bragging.
Yeah.
I don't think I can go anywhere in my life and will not be uh I don't want to say successful, but will not be okay in that sense,
Yeah.
so to say.
Personally, okay.
Personally okay, because I know that I just need to work on myself and add value.
I would quickly like to chip in a story. So I remember that I was my final year in the university, and there's this Cameroonian classmate of mine. He's older than most of us that were sitting down that day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he's older than us, and he travels a lot. He's really experienced. Like he doesn't really talk, and I consider him to be someone who is really wise. So we were just talking that day, and as at that time, I already had TOEFLs. I'd already built like a level school in
Mhm.
Ilorin. So I, I was doing that. I had my ram business, so I was selling livestock as well. So I had these great dreams of like becoming a very big businessman in Nigeria, you know. So I was doing that with school, and that day we were talking, and discussion about leaving the country came up, and I was just like, I don't want to leave the country. I really didn't want to leave Nigeria. Like, no, I can never leave this country. And this guy, he doesn't really talk about. He just said something, and it was like very direct. It was like, you don't know anything. I was like, I don't know anything, okay? I was like, yeah, Nigeria can be great. We can change this place. You know, we can make it better for us, and I believe we can even make a lot of money here and live really fine. And he said, if you really want to change your current situation, you need exposure. That was not the first time I heard the word exposure, but I understood it differently that day. After the whole conversation, it still didn't sit down with me that maybe I also didn't agree with him that I was supposed to leave the country or something. But I was just
Mhm.
like exposure. For this guy to say this, he is well traveled. For this guy to say this, and I consider him to be really wise. He's really a wise guy. I was just like, okay. So
Exposure.
sometimes when people leave,
Mhm.
it's just to I'm not justifying why I left too, but it's just or sometimes it gives them that exposure to make things better.
Mhm.
And I will give you one reason why it helped me. So another thing is as a person, I'm quick to build.
Mhm.
So I built the A level score I was talking about. I was like 18 turning 19 or 19 years old when I built it. And whenever another idea comes, I build almost immediately. when I had the idea to start selling livestock, I didn't even wait. It's not like I always don't think about the money, the capital. I just just start something. So I was thinking that when I get here, then I'll build something else.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time in my life, like since 2021, this is the first time I'm building something. It's like ever since I started building, this is the longest I have waited.
Yeah.
And something that happened was when I got here, I just felt like,
You can do it better, so you don't have to rush it.
yes, like,
Quality
oh my
work.
days, what have I been doing? What have I been? So whenever an idea comes and I want to build it, I'm like, no, 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 not the anyhowness standard. Like I've been nursing different ideas and saying that, oh, I at least I need to meet this standard
Yeah.
before I can pronounce to the world that, or before I can pronounce
this is your product.
yes. So
That's like an human thing. There
mm,
are there are so I was going to say that when I left Nigeria, it was mainly to come and study. I have to put that out there. Not because I was escaping
yeah, I
any
also came just to study,
yeah,
to be
to
honest.
study. Because I was working in Nigeria. I was even already getting another job in a bank, Access Bank, at the time in August 2019. So I was not going to suffer. Like at least maybe I wouldn't earn as much, maybe in Europe. But even with time, you never know. You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Yes, true.
I have friends in Nigeria that I'm not that much into I'm not that more of a money person like that. But financially, I would say they are doing way better than me.
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria. So, but that's by the way. So now the question I want to ask you is,
Oh, you're not asking me the question.
I'm because you said it as when the person said like exposure, like a standard, anyhowness and stuff like that. Wherever you see standard right now, and is either you are saying that Nigerians are not capable of doing things well. That's the
Mhm.
question I'm asking. Or the people that you see now, were they always doing things well from the onset? You know, probably they made a lot of mistakes too. So probably they started with anyhowness. So whatever anyhowness you are seeing in Nigeria right now is our own building phase, is our own growing phase. At some point we will say, oh, we'll look back. Have you ever noticed that the most interesting time in your life were all those were mostly
Yes.
those anyhowness times?
Yes.
Because those were the times when you were really like applying yourselves.
Yeah.
You were just doing. There's just power in doing and not worrying too much about the standard. But I also see
Absolutely.
where you're coming from when you talk about like doing things well and understanding why you are doing it. I get it. But at the same time, everything is part of the same process. A, a proper society that you see today that's almost you see everything working was not always like that.
Mm.
Considering that, okay, now when we take it back to the first men, what did they have other than their imagination? And we have the gene of that first man. So let's say they take you to a place now, or a baby. Take a baby for example. You can teach the same baby in any place how to use their imagination to create things, and another baby might just be doing anyhow, so to say. So it's teaching, it's reading, is a lot of things are documented. When you look at visionaries like Obafemi Awolowo, we heard a lot of stories about him of how if they allowed him to actually rule Nigeria, Nigeria might have been so wonderful. Probably you probably read it in books. Of obviously traveled.
Exposure.
I will probably traveled. But what I'm trying to say in essence is where you think you are getting exposure from. If all of us started from the scratch, where would you have gotten your exposure from? That's the question I'm asking.
If all of us started from
Let's go back to the year one. The word year one.
okay.
You are in Nigeria. Some people are in Estonia, year one. And Estonia travels to Nigeria. What does it see? Practically nothing. A Nigerian travels to Estonia, it doesn't see anything.
I believe if,
Where's
for
the
example,
exposure?
someone from the West
Yeah.
should go to Nigeria now. For
Yeah.
example, if
Year one, not in 2026.
okay, year one,
Yes.
that's exposure for anyone. If, for
What will
example,
it say? What will it get there? That's what I'm trying to say.
year one when everyone was zero
When everything was zero, yes.
for everybody.
For everybody.
way of life,
Exactly my point.
culture,
Exactly.
and that's exposure.
That's exposure. But that's exposure in a way.
I'm actually not going to. I'm actually not trying to demerit. I'm not actually not
I
trying to
think you were
demerit
saying it.
Nigeria.
You were saying it. No, we were not demerits in Nigeria. We're just laying out facts.
Yeah,
It's a
and
fact.
I'm not just laying out facts. I'm just saying that some people leave, and as a result of leaving, they get more exposed. When we say exposure, it doesn't mean that what you find here is better than what you find there. To be honest, for example, if someone from the West now, all your life in the West, you go to Nigeria. Let's say, for example, someone from Estonia comes to Nigeria. One thing I think you would pick first is how fast ideas can turn into product
Exactly.
in Nigeria. And so and I already know from a lot of experiences at work that you need lots and lots, millions, maybe millions of experimentations to actually get a very fine product. So the faster you can experiment, the better for you, for any institution.
Yes.
So you need to like experiment this idea. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
So you experiment this idea, this is not going to work. And for example, someone who is like a Nigerian or someone who grew up in that type of setting will be very good with experimentation.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say in essence, why I was asking that question is, ultimately, if you have no opportunity to travel anywhere or be exposed to anything, and all you know in your life is Nigeria, and all we will ever know it will be Nigeria, then what are you going to do with that? I read in the paper that there was a man in Nigeria who had an idea of a robot assistant. And they took him to psychiatric hospital. So the ultimate exposure really is our innate imaginative ability.
Okay, so are you saying that for exposure, people should not Japaa from Nigeria?